All right, thank you guys for another episode of Kickin' It with Kachi, where we highlight individuals that are taking the industry by storm. And today we have the honor of sitting down with legendary fashion designer. And wait till you guys figure out all the other stuff that he's got going on. Korprit, thank you, man, for coming in and kicking it with me, man.
Of course, man. Least I can do. I
Yeah, of
appreciate it.
course, of course. And I had, like I said, I gotta get into the fashion, so I had to come with the '80s flow with the Sean John everything, because I was talking to a fashion designer. I hope me a good
Oh
impression.
yes, sir. I think you look crisp right now.
Thank
Crisp.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I know you're in the West Coast right now. Thank you for coming on. We're gonna get into why you're over there. But first, I want to take it to the beginning and talk to us like what sort of inspired you to get into pursuing art, fashion as something that you want to take professionally, take seriously.
Yeah, man. Well, I've always been drawing, right, ever since a kid, and the past couple of years, you get a little dose of reality, and you're like, well, I need to figure out what I'm going to do for a living, right? um, and I met a couple friends along the way. I want to shout out Now Compare. I want to shout out Sean Toner. I want to shout out I Don't Have a Name Brand and my boy Zalamander. And they were all influences to get me into clothing. And I realized it could be a viable career choice. And it's a compromise when you can combine art and something you can actually market to people, because I think sustainable clothing is much needed in today's ecosystem. And I think it's something people actually value, and people take it seriously, because high art is kind of a joke nowadays, you know.
Right, right. And I mean, today also we call into question what is high art? What is this
Right,
low art or this, right? Like what,
right.
right? A banana was auctioned off for millions of dollars months ago. So does that count as high art, or is like, what I'm saying, this whole idea of art and creativity? And as we look at through your pieces, there's a lot of humor in your pieces as well. Like there's a lot of jokes, there's a lot of tributes to where you're from in
Right,
Maine,
man, right.
that regional humor as well that really speaks to that your experiences growing up there as well. So is that something that you sort of thought to incorporate? How did you develop your style of airbrush, repurposing clothes, and doing these alterations and such?
So for the airbrush, you play around with spray paint. You spray paint a couple shirts, but it always ends up, you
Cracking,
know, cracking, and there's
yeah,
not much detail you can get unless you use
right,
fine
right.
caps. So I met a couple people, Zaro XO and Lazuki on Instagram, and I was talking to them. I bought a shirt from Lakuzi, and I just was loving the quality. It holds up great, and I realized, oh, I can just draw directly on clothes without because I didn't know about screen printing. I didn't know about
Right, right,
direct
right,
to garment sublimation. It's all there's a barrier of entry. I
right.
mean, everything has it, but airbrushing, I mean, you can spend $20 on a cheap Chinese knockoff of an Iwata, and then you
Right,
can
right,
just get a compressor and paint, and you can just go to town, man. And
right.
you know, I think airbrushing, it awards the mistakes because people like a messy feel. I
Mhm.
personally like a messy look because it's genuine.
Right. And I was
Um,
gonna say, I think that is it speaks to this anarchist, this grinding against conformity idea, like we talked about, like what is high art, right? Like what is this idea of what is good fashion, what is quality fashion, right? And as you're talking about sustainable, right? These are
oh,
one of
sure, man.
that you're also upscaling, altering, repurposing, right? Is that an angle that is the ethos of your brand? Essentially, like that's something that you want to continue forward and strive in that fashion by making that environmental impact.
Yeah, I think the problem is it's not going to be a choice pretty soon. I mean, it's already not a choice
Right,
because you see the landfills, you see it's all piling up. People want new, and there's just no room for it anymore. There's already enough clothes. There's enough clothes to make anything you want on the planet, man, from your local Goodwill. You can
Right, right,
like you don't even have to outsource. You can go to your local dumpster. You can go to the side of the street, pick up the old rags, wash them, bleach them, sew them into new fabric, and then learn how to cut and sew. And I mean,
right.
the problem is it just takes time and effort, and people don't want to put time and effort into something.
And
People want
that's
it
why we
now.
call it fast fashion, because it's fast.
Right.
Exactly. Right.
Right.
And and what sort of push you, as you said, like when we talk to sustainable clothing, people immediately go to my shirt, my pants, jackets, whatever have you. But you have taken it, and I see this with a lot of other brands, not a lot, but a movement nonetheless of brands like yours that are expanding past just sustainable clothing, but sustainable garmentry overall. Like you have lighter patches, you have card decks, you got bags, right? You got hats, you got beanies, like you got sustainable garmentry, right? What inspired
right,
you to
man.
pass the, run of the mill shirt, hoodie, jeans, and then call it a day? What made you want to say, hey, we
Yeah.
can end this?
I mean, I just got kind of sick of seeing the Instagram brands. You know what I'm talking about? Like
Right,
people
right,
people put a gun on a shirt and then they get it manufactured and then they say, "Look what I made."
right,
Um,
right,
but you didn't. You didn't make it, and it's still fast fashion. Um, I mean, I think it's more than that. And if I could be making shoes, if I could be making, you could be making anything, but
right,
it's all, it's a barrier of entry, like we talked about. I mean, you start with what you can do. Start with, you have an idea and say, how can I realize this in a productive, realistic way?
right.
And it starts out, you start out not making any of that because you don't know how. I think it starts, one day at a time. You make a shirt and then you say, "Oh, I'm sick of shirts."
It's sick of, yeah, I'm
And
sick
then
of doing shirts. Like something else has to give.
what else can I do, right? You have all
Right,
this fabric and you look at it and you're like, "Oh, I don't want this going to waste. I can't throw it away. So I might as well just sew all these pieces into one ream of fabric and then see what I can make." And it really
so true.
depends on how much fabric you have. A hat is less fabric than a shirt, less
Right,
than a hoodie, less than a jacket. So it's scalability at that point.
right. And as we talk about like expanding the brand, right? Let's get into the long list of, as we said before, all the other things that you have incorporated with Korprit, right? First, love the name because it's anti-corporate, because it's
Right,
that's
right. Well, it's funny because it's a joke. It started as a
right.
joke. In high
Really?
school, I'm like, well, wouldn't it be funny if I just named it after corporation? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, they'd be like,
but
yeah,
it's
I'm going
not.
corporate, right? But you're not, you're right.
Right, and then it's subliminal because people hear it. Oh, they hear, oh, this company is corporate, and then
Right,
subliminally they're thinking of me, whether they want to or not. And it's
right, exactly.
it's kind
No,
of
that's
gray
great.
marketing, but I think that's fine.
No, that's great.
you
And
know,
like we said, the humor of it, right? The humor that extends past the clothing. And on your website, we have a multitude of things that we can interact with past just buying your
yeah,
clothes,
man.
right? You have
Yeah,
a card game, right? So you both have online games and a card game, as well as let's see, I'm not
comic
forgetting.
books, man. You
You got a
got
couple, yeah, you got a couple
yeah,
comic books,
video
couple
games,
videos,
like
yeah, you got a lot of stuff.
videos. Yeah,
Right, right. So let's start with the card game, because that in itself
man.
mind boggles me that you can create an entire card game with rules and power levels, and like it's
Yeah, man. Yeah,
that
yeah.
that's
So
that's insane.
what's funny is that so I had a bunch of Pokemon cards as a kid, right? Like everybody did.
Of
And
course,
then
yeah.
you lose them, and 10 years later it's the craze, right? Logan
Right,
Paul
right,
turns it
right,
into,
right,
the second, like the second hype
right,
about it.
right,
And I couldn't find any of mine, so I'm like, why don't I just I'll just make my own and then I'll just value them as much as I want. Like,
right, right, right,
because I was really sad about losing you lose them, and
right.
but that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to play with them as a kid, right? Not frame them in glass, but I mean, to
And
each
yeah,
their own.
it's yeah, it's a toy. It's toys get broken, toys get lost. But it's
Yeah,
crazy.
man.
I mean, like I said, to us when we were younger, it's like a toy, right? Like one day we just stopped playing with our toy and it's just gone forever.
Right,
Right?
man.
Right. So, but I mean, as you get older, I mean, it's bittersweet, but at least I used to work in the schools, and I can tell you it's an amazing feeling seeing all the little kids
Oh
having
yeah,
the
man.
big binders with all
Yeah,
the
man.
Pokemon cards. I'm like, the youth are in good hands. The
I
youth
love
are
it because it's just a blatant example of how a community it's a community, honestly.
right, right, and
Like,
it's self-sustaining in itself that we can grow up in it, mature out of it, and there are people that are still cycling through it.
and
Now,
it'll
it's an
carry
amazing,
on, man, and
right,
it's in good hands. So
right,
like same thing with the cards, man. I wanted to be able to, because I had this sense of community as a kid, but if I'm able to give that to the new generation, or I mean, and our generation, and honestly any generation that wants to,
right, right,
um, if I can be a part that inspires, like my main goal in life is to inspire, and nothing really else. I mean, I want to eat and I want to have a roof over my head, but
right.
I mean, if I can give that little push to people to maybe try and start their own dreams, and I mean, Korprit in reality is just to show people that it's viable. Your dreams can be viable and you
Right.
can do it.
And I mean, that's literally the first line actually on your website. Like you come on and said, this is the movement of the power of literally just having an idea and running with it, right? And
Yeah,
as
man.
your website shows, it's a bunch of ideas that you're running with at one time, full steam ahead, right? You have the idea for the card game just because of the fact that you didn't have Pokemon cards. And granted, I still want to know, how are you even able to create like the rules, the attacks, the
It's
character.
funny. It's really I just made 10 and then I base it as I go, really. There's no real, I mean, there's planning. I
Right,
want to have a card game, and then I kind of make it as I go, and you white out some lines that don't work and you just
right,
change it
right.
around while it's in motion, and then it sorts itself out, honestly. But I mean, it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy,
I mean, but
and you
it's
burn
seems
yourself
fun.
out, man.
Right.
Burnout is real. Like, and because I recently learned that I might be a workaholic.
I mean, well, you think, yeah, you think, yeah, like,
but,
and
but
it's crazy, like, and that's it. That's the funny part in itself too, because your name is Korprit, but it's supposed to be like this very funny, humorous,
right,
not
right,
so serious brand, but you're working your
right.
ass off like a
Well,
corporate
it's
CEO.
it's yeah, but I think it's even harder to do that if people take it as fun and lighthearted,
Right, right,
and
right,
nobody sees. Well, people see it, but the more lighthearted and fun it outwardly is, the more inward you work to,
right.
you know,
Keep it
like
like keep
try
it right,
and keep it light and inspirational for the
right,
people around you,
right.
instead of just always, oh, you kind of keep it to yourself, and it's a blessing and a curse, but
Right.
I you know
Nah, it's just funny because your name's corporate to be
right,
anti-corporate, but you're
right.
working you're working a
Well,
lot of corporate hours.
it reaches, it goes like ironic, post ironic, and
Right.
then it's back to new sincerity,
Hey,
and you kind of have to
maybe
catch yourself.
maybe you got a career as a rapper. You got a lot of metaphors and double
I
entendres.
do make music too. Yeah, yeah.
So, and
um
getting into the video game now, where did you code it? I see it's on Adobe Flash. Shout out Adobe Flash to the people that used to
Yo,
make it.
rest in peace, Adobe Flash. They killed it last year, man.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
dang.
So basically, it's I kind of found a workaround because I coded it in C sharp, which
Oh,
is,
okay.
and then I had it running in Flash, and I had it running. It's like running. It's all this nerd talk, but it's running
Right.
JavaScript, running Flash, but it's fake running Flash in HTML5 so it can show on the website, because on websites they don't let you show Flash anymore. So
Right.
I'm
Right. Right.
imagine like you're just it's on my computer still, but they're accessing it from my computer in a little window.
It's
So
like a
it's
little
still
bunch of Russian
technically,
dolls that are like,
yeah, exactly.
wow,
Exactly.
wow.
And I mean, I wish I could spend all my time making games, but I mean, shout out to the people who work on video games. It will kill you.
Yeah. No, hey, do you have coding? Like, did you have coding background before the fashion, or did that something you
No. I took a
learned it?
class at Mecca in Portland, but that
Nice.
was a long time ago. Um, it's all self-taught. I mean, YouTube is a powerful tool, man. Google is a powerful tool.
Right.
You can learn anything, just don't get distracted.
Right.
You know?
And getting into now like 2023, right? You have popping fashion brand, popping games, got a lot of stuff going on, making music now as well. What more can like what things are we gonna see in 2023? What drops? Things gonna drop, things are gonna be different, things gonna be new, what's going on?
Well, I'm thinking more pop-up shops. I
Okay.
mean, that's it. It's such a cool feeling to be able to personally interact with people and give someone 100% of your time instead of texting over the phone or on
Right.
Instagram. You can be in person. They can
Right.
feel the product. You can personally explain what goes into it. Because no matter how hard you try, nobody's gonna realize what goes into it if they're not there at the studio. And I'm really trying to I'm trying to open a by appointment store
A buy
up in
appointment,
Lubec, Maine.
what is
So
that?
it's like you sign up and you come in and you can personally shop through the goods and you can see how it's made. And I really want to do free workshops to teach people how to screen print, teach people how to sew, like a home ec class because they don't really teach
Right.
home ec anymore. And I think it's a shame, you know?
Right. Nah, definitely. That's dope. This is all the stuff we want to happen to this year. That's dope.
Yeah, man. I mean, the sooner the better. All the kinks won't be worked out, but
Right.
if I can offer it with some kinks, I think that's better than nothing.
Right. So let's get into like the most current project that's going on. Like you're in LA right now. What's the story there? What's going on? What's brought you out there? Vacation, work?
Well, I'm in San Diego. I'm taking a break. I'm just here to see
Nice,
my grandpa and
nice,
spend
nice,
some quality time with my family because
nice.
I'm kind of isolated up in Lubec, Maine. There's not much. I have my studio. I work. I love it,
Right,
but burnout is real. I'm sure you can relate to that.
right, definitely. Are you originally from San Diego or are you originally from Maine?
I'm from Maine, but born and we moved around a lot.
Oh, God,
But
okay.
raised in Maine, yeah, yeah,
Right. I mean, I definitely understand. I was born and raised in New York, but now I live in Vermont, and definitely
yeah, man.
like all you're doing is pushing, career, passion all day. Yeah, it could definitely get tired.
It
You can
gets to
definitely
you, man.
get tired
Yeah,
of your dreams. It is
yeah,
it's a
man. And it's funny. Tired of your dream, right? It's
right.
like,
Hey, if you put
and
that on a hoodie, you gotta send it to me. That's a good tagline. I'm just saying we can make money together.
send it my
Hey,
way, man. Let's do it.
right?
Let's
I
drop a
don't know if you gonna edit
collaboration.
this out for the DC voice because this is my
Yeah,
job. But if you want to talk on the side, we can.
yeah, man. For real, for real. Hit me
Nah,
up.
definitely,
Let's
man.
do it.
But
I'm
now that
dead
we got a
serious.
little comfortable, before the time runs out, I got a couple lightning round questions just to whoever's watching this to get to know you a little better. I don't know
Yeah,
if
shoot,
your
man.
DMs is open, but maybe they'll get you a gift off of it, maybe a nice little skirt, fly you out. I don't know. I don't know what's going on
Hey,
that
my
side.
DMs are always open.
I just ask the questions.
I don't know if I'll answer it, but they're always open.
All right, so what is, and this is probably good. I love making artists kill their babies because it's fun. But
Oh, for sure, man.
what is your favorite corporate piece?
Oh, probably my $800 rose perfume. And if you're watching this, it's to a special someone, and I hope you still have it.
Oh snap! Okay, I didn't know if it was gonna. I'm the first one. I'm not sure I'm gonna answer it yet. First question, a straight shot from the 3 point on the other side of the field, man.
Exactly. And I love
Deep.
it so much because it's just a joke. It's just a joke. You see people selling anything over $1,000 product wise. I mean, if it's not if it's not wood, if it's not something you know, if it's not your life child, if it's a
Right.
perfume,
Right.
I mean, there's a certain point where it's just ludicrous. I mean,
How did you make a perfume? I've never, don't even know the whole process of making perfumes.
yeah, so it's just rose water, which is like rose petals infused in
Right.
water, and then
Right.
chamomile, and it's just like it's basically essential oils in a spray bottle. But
Oh, it's like potpourri, but water.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, it's just a joke. It's not actual perfume per
Right.
se. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
inside.
but
I hope she. Well, now I hope she watches this because she'll be dying
yeah,
laughing.
yeah, we'll see. We haven't talked in a while, but I hope she's well. You know.
Hey, well, hopefully this gets you a. That's a DM you'll answer. I definitely know that. So,
But
what
yeah,
is
man.
your favorite way to unwind, center yourself? I know you're visiting family right now in San Diego. Was there any other ways that you like to sort of get away from the noise of, being
Yeah,
such a
man.
multifaceted genius, so to
Um,
speak?
just get outside, go skateboard,
Nice, yeah.
go touch some grass. Honestly,
Really?
like
Yeah.
go ride a bike. Um, you know, like get your favorite snack, get your favorite bev. Just
Right,
go to
right.
the beach and just clear your mind, man. I mean, it sounds it's so cliche, but it works every time.
Right.
Like,
I mean, but being from a place like Maine, like I know places like Houston or like LA, even like San Diego, sometimes in certain areas, you
oh
can't
sure,
really
man.
go
It's
see like
hard, right? It's
nature and
hard.
right. You can't even go for a bike ride or go skateboarding without being bombarded by all the sensory overload of all the people. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
man.
touching grass is definitely important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, I would say listen to your favorite music, man, and just sit in your bed, look at the ceiling. Honestly, you know.
Nice.
But it's hard to disconnect like that because you're always if your work is what you love, then you're always going to want to be working and you're always going
Right.
to think about it.
Right.
But it's mature to be able to separate your work and love from yourself.
Right.
Even if
Right.
your brand is even if you're selling a part of yourself, you know, that's
Right.
where it gets
I understand.
confusing,
Yeah.
right?
It's the idea of like you love this thing so much, but you can't let the love of it consume the other things that you love.
Right,
Essentially, you
right.
have to sort of compartmentalize that passion for that while actively pursuing, but understand, like you're saying, like this is once your passion becomes a profession, now it's work, and all you're thinking about is work. That's all you're gonna
Yeah.
die. No
Yeah,
matter
especially if you live in the same space as your work,
right,
then it can really get to your head.
right.
But I think just any way you can disconnect from that I think is healthy. You
Definitely,
know,
definitely.
exercise is the main component, I'd say.
Right. And you're all about inspiration, you're all about um humor. I want to know who are your top 3 comedians that you always go back to, always bust out laughing.
Oh man. I always love a good Eric Andre skit.
Oh my God, I love
like
Eric
like
Andre.
like
Oh my God. When I was too young to watch Adult Swim, that
oh
man was
yeah, man.
why.
Yeah. Like I'm a big fan of anti-humor. I don't find
Yeah,
stand-up comedy the most entertaining personally, but I
yeah.
do get where it comes from. I'd say Eric Andre and Steve-O, honestly.
Nice.
I don't know
Yeah.
if I have a third. I'll get back to you on that at some point, but definitely some inspirations for me.
Okay. What are your top 4 artists in rotation right now? Listen, what you're listening to.
Music wise,
Yeah.
well, shout out Brockhampton.
Oh yeah. Good first pick.
It's a shame. It's a shame they had to break up this year, but
Yeah.
I think it's for the best of everybody in that group. Let me see, man. That's a tough one. I don't know. I love just trap music, like 21 Savage. Like he's always a
Yeah.
good one. Blank Banshee. I don't know if you've heard of that, but always a classic. And probably Sophia Rose.
Wow, you got a
Underground,
lot of
but
different you draw from a lot of different places there.
yeah, man. I mean, why limit yourself, right?
Right.
Like,
I mean, as we know from the brand Korprit, right?
yeah, man. I think it's why limit yourself when you can just have fun and just,
Right.
you know, it's good for the
So,
brain.
I always like to end off these interviews. Thank you so much for coming through. And I know you're all about, speaking to that next up person. And that's just exactly what your brand is all about. And that's definitely what Kickin and Kachi is definitely about as well. So what
Oh,
are
for
three
sure.
lessons that you've learned on your journey that you want to share to that next up and coming brand that's trying to, just follow their dreams?
Yeah, I would definitely bring it back to be able, teach yourself to be able to take a break.
Yeah.
I think breaks are just as important as the work itself. I learned that way too late, and I'm just now learning how to take a break. Um, yeah, burnout is real. That's what I'm going to tell people. Don't push yourself too hard, but push yourself enough that you make new bounds, new strides.
Yeah.
But too far, you'll burn yourself out, and it's not healthy. And do what you love. Cliche, but
Yeah.
it's my whole brand is to show it's viable. Your dreams can be viable.
Right.
It's a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of it's a lot of work. Like, people don't want to hear that. It's work. Your dreams take work.
Definitely, it's worth it. The work is worth it. Definitely.
It is always.
But yeah, Korprit, thank you so much for coming through, kicking it with me, man. Like, definitely appreciate it.
Dude,
Do you
of
have any last
course.
words before we sign off?
Nah, you are such a charmer, man. And such a good interviewer. Good interviewer.
I've been doing this for a little bit, so I picked up a thing or
Well,
two.
it shows, man. Yeah. It
Thank
shows.
you, and
You
definitely,
know how
man.
to. Yeah, man.
But yeah, thank you for coming through. I definitely need to get some clothing. If you have any new pieces, I'd be happy to do some coverage on it when it drops, man.
Hey,
Congratulations
man.
on
Yeah,
everything you did thus far, man, and I can't wait to see what you got going on.
Hey, I appreciate you tons, man. Take care of yourself.
Of course, you too, man. But thank you guys for another episode of Kicking with Kachi. We're gonna post this on YouTube and the Instagram. You guys can check out my man Korprit at Korprit on Instagram. We're out of here. Peace.
Peace.